Well, hey, everybody, glad to be with you again. Today's topic is how to create high impact online courses. David, it's interesting. I was just reading right before we got on here that, for thousands of years, land was the source of wealth essentially throughout the world. But in the last 100 or so years, knowledge has shifted to become really the key source of wealth. And the author of the book I was reading talked about how um, the Japanese, while Japan doesn't have a lot of natural resources and it's not a big place, they've become extremely wealthy because of how they've learned how to use knowledge to turn into products. And I think that it's really relevant to kind of what our topic is today and the opportunities that we now have, because not everybody has massive amounts of land, right? You go around most cities and communities, there's not a lot of land to be had anymore to buy up the land, so to speak, and own it, and and have this grip on land. Anybody all over the world can take their knowledge and turn it into something valuable. And so I think today's topic will be really interesting to talk about when in conjunction with how you put that online, right?
Right. Well, and I agree. And not only that, but land has really become expensive.
Hmm.
Let's just be honest. Like most people, and this is the sad part of where we are at this point in our history, is that most people, like if you were let's just say a 20 something, a young couple that just got married and, would like to start off your life and have your own little house and do that,
It's
almost all
hard.
of them are renting now.
Yeah.
All the younger couples I know are renting because they can't even afford it because the houses have gone so ridiculously expensive that they can't even get in the door of a starter home.
Yeah.
And so this is, I mean, and this is just kind of underlines the point that we're trying to make, is that the world we live in is, I'm just going to use the word unstable. And I think that that can be applied in a number of
Sure.
ways, in a number of avenues. We see instability everywhere around us now.
Hmm.
It is just kind of like, this is life now. It
Yeah.
is. We are getting used to being in a very unstable environment. From, and I think about it, like you think 50 years ago, and in the lens of history, 50 years is a very short period of time.
Right.
It is not a long period of time, but think about the world 50 years ago
Right.
and how much more stable it was. I
Yeah.
mean, people would go to work for a business or a company and they could be lifers.
Hmm.
They would work there for 30, 40 years, get their pension, retire,
Yeah.
and to do that. And that was how they settled into things. That was how they found a really good business. It was really stable. I mean, we don't live in a world that even remotely resembles that anymore.
No, we don't. And it's interesting because, kind of going back to that book I was reading, which was funny enough, was written like in 1996 or published back then. So the mid 90s, right? 30 years ago almost now. Um, this guy was talking about, you know, the topic of what he is, I was reading this morning, but he was saying how, resources, even on the earth, like he said, oil used to just be just this nuisance until somebody learned how to take oil and turn it into gasoline,
Right.
and that there was even a need for gasoline, right? And how to use oil and all the other products that we now use it in. So things have just shifted over time, to your point, that, things that used to be in the way and a problem and a nuisance to people become, truly that black gold, as we learned from the Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah, well, that's fascinating to think that they used to view oil as a nuisance. Boy, if
And
they
now
only
they're,
knew.
yeah. And for what, thousands of years, they were sitting on,
Right. Untold wealth.
trillions and trillions of dollars now.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's fascinating. So anyway, the reality is that we live in a world where if you want to be solid financially, I'm not even talking about getting rich. I'm just
Mhm.
talking about being financially solid, having enough resources available to you that you can pay for your life, that you can raise your family, that you can be able to take a vacation now and then, to be able to live a comfortable life. To be
Mhm.
able to do that, you really have to kind of take the reins of your life financially and take control of it. You
Yeah.
do. You have to start creating income streams for yourself outside of just working for a company, or just doing the thing that you do, because like my wife for a couple of years ago. She worked for this company, loved what she did, was great at her job, and just was pretty much in her dream job at that point. Loved where she was,
Mhm.
loved the company, loved the people, was in doing work that was she was so happy and passionate about. And so we are, and sitting there going, and she's just loving life. And all of a sudden she's sitting there and gets noticed one day, everyone is being let go. The company's struggling. You're all gone.
Mhm.
And it was just like about a third of the company exited the door that day.
Yeah.
And so you're staring at it. I mean, she did nothing wrong.
Right.
And yet she lost control of her financial future in that moment because her paycheck suddenly disappeared and evaporated because the company was having problems. And again, the economic landscape is very unstable.
Well, I think that's just a really good point in all this, right? Is that because of the situation in our world, the stability or instability as we're talking about, people are losing jobs that would only have happened in the past because of, they've done something to earn, to be fired, right?
Right.
And instead it's layoffs, it's reduction in force, whatever terms companies want to use, because the market has shifted or it continues to shift, and it can happen any day to anyone. And I think I saw somebody else, another woman, similar story, was saying, hey, one day I was at my dream job, loving what I was doing, and next day I got the notice that I was no longer needed, my services were no longer needed,
Right.
and you become just this faceless number,
Mhm.
unfortunately, in many companies today. And as you were talking, the word responsibility really came to my mind for our, taking responsibility. In past, I think what happened was we got lulled into thinking that companies are going to take care of us,
Mm.
right? And we see this even in our world today, where we think, we have people who think the government's going to take care of us. Well, that's the farthest from the truth.
Yeah.
Well, they say that the greatest lie is I'm from the government and I'm here to help, like,
Yes. Yes.
um, but the reality is that I think we got so comfortable, and I'll even use the word lazy, over a period of time in our culture, that everything was going to stay the same. And we just have to look back now 5 years to when COVID, disrupted everything, which is hard to believe it's been 5 years now, by the way. But I remember how excited I was heading into 2020, thinking, man, all the opportunities, all the things that are coming that year that I felt like were going to be really good. And then all of a sudden, this global pandemic shuts the world down. And despite the politics and all the junk that surrounded it, the disruption was insurmountable for some people and companies. Um, and I think what I'm seeing, David, and I think it ties into our topic today, is I think that people are out of that realizing I can't trust a company, I can't trust a government to take care of my needs, my family's needs. I need to take ownership. I need to take the reins back, and I need to take the opportunity to develop my own thing. And I see so many online creators who are saying, you know what? Even if I have the day job, I can still do something on the side in the margins of my life. And actually, a friend of ours, she was a nurse. She was a labor and delivery nurse for years and loved her job, but the medical realm got so challenging. She started doing even just online influencer type stuff with home decorating and renovation. And I talked to her husband back in the fall, and he said, yeah, she quit her job a while back. She's making more money now doing that online than she was as a nurse, and the stress and the frustrations as a nurse was just too much. And so she just said, you know what, I'm done with it. I'm seeing that, I hear teachers, and lots of teachers are quitting because of the stress and the things that they're dealing with in school systems and whatnot. I mean, it's happening in every realm, I guess is my point. It's not just corporate, it's not just government, it's all sectors of society are so unstable. But I also think that's also part of our topic today, is really the opportunity is addressing the problems that are out there and helping people.
Right. And I think that's something, because I want you to just think about this. Like, let's say like, especially if you've been in the workforce for any period of time, You've had, you're no longer a child. You're an adult now. You've had some experiences in life, and you have some knowledge and some wisdom that you've gained from whatever it is that you've been through. Your
Mhm.
story is always unique from everyone else's, but you have some wisdom and expertise that you've gained. Well, you can take that wisdom and expertise and turn it into a course that
Mhm.
you can sell to other people so other people can grow and learn from your experiences and knowledge. And obviously, though, there's a little bit of a nuance to that. And that is you actually have to create a course that solves a problem for someone
Right.
that's important to them.
Yeah.
This needs to be a problem that people are very interested in having solved.
Mhm.
And this is why, and too many times people think, well, I'm just going to create a course on something that I like.
Yeah.
Okay, you may like this topic and you may be passionate about this topic, but is anyone else?
Right.
Or let me put it this way: is there any kind of sizable audience of people that would be passionate about this topic? Because if it's you and 6 other people,
Right. Good luck, right?
good luck. It's not going to work. And the reality is, courses don't sell just simply because you blabbered into a microphone.
Right.
That's not how this works, and that's why there are graveyards full of courses that never sold.
Mhm.
Because, and one of the things that I fully believe is the cause of it is like people didn't solve a problem that other people were looking for help on.
Right.
Is this something that people are going into Google and saying and searching, how do I, and then fill in the blank?
Right.
Is this something that people are like, I need to figure out how to do this? I need to solve this problem in my life. And this isn't just I can go on YouTube and get a quick fix and like, oh, like how do I, fix this thing on my refrigerator? Okay, well, okay.
Mhm.
We're not talking that kind of stuff. We're talking about bigger problems than that. And
Right.
so this has to be an important problem that's causing pain to your audience. This has to be an important problem that's like I need to solve this. Like it could be like financial strain. Like I have to figure out how to make more money. I am dying over here. I'm working 2 jobs, killing
Yeah.
myself, trying to survive just to pay the bills. And all I do, I'm dying, and all I'm doing is barely paying the bills every month. And so, you have to know that about your audience. You have to know what their pain point is. You have to know what hurts them enough that they would actually pay to get a solution.
Yeah.
Because if it's a problem that isn't something that they're saying, oh my goodness, I need to solve this. Oh my goodness, I need to deal with this problem, then it's not the right problem to solve.
Yeah.
You need to create a course that solves a problem that's significant, that is faced by at least enough people to make it worthwhile for you to pursue. And it needs to be a painful enough problem that it's going to motivate them to take action.
Mhm.
Because too often, if it's like, we all have those problems in life, right, Chris? Where it's like, yeah, I should really fix that. I should really deal with that. And 6 months later, yeah, I should really deal with that. I should fix that. We all have those little projects around the house,
Right.
right? Like,
I know. I tell my wife all the time, I'll get to it. You don't have to remind me every 6 months.
yeah, that's about right. We all have those exact projects sitting there where we're going, yeah, I need to do that. No, this needs to be a problem that the person is looking at and going, oh my goodness, no, I got to deal with this. I
Yeah.
got to solve this thing, because if I don't solve this, this is going to kill me. This is going to absolutely drive me nuts. I need to solve this. And so you need to understand what that is, and you need to understand what that is for your audience on an intimate level.
Mhm.
If you Too many times I've seen person after person who makes assumptions like, no, I know what my audience wants. They want this. Do they? Are
Yeah.
you sure? Have you asked them? Have you had conversations with people who are your target audience and confirmed with them that yes, this is what they want?
Mhm.
This is a pain point for them, and they're willing to spend money to solve this problem. Because if you haven't, assumptions will kill your course sales.
Yeah.
If you're just assuming that, well, I like this, so I'm assuming they'll like it too. Well, wrong.
You and I've even talked, David, about how, there's a lot of business courses out there where people, you look at the titles or the emphasis, it's like how to build a 7-figure business. And we've said many times, most people we interact with they don't care about building a 7-figure business. They're looking at it at least to start and go, you know what if I can make a couple extra $1,000 a month? What if I can make, up to a 6-figure business and have a, turn that into my career, kind of thing.
Right.
But yet there's this pitch and an assumption, right? And so many of these programs that are out there, like, how do I get to $1 million? Well, you know that building a 6-figure business versus building a 7-figure business, there's a whole lot of difference between
Yeah.
what is required to run
Right.
the two things, right? You could truly be a solopreneur and not have a lot of overhead, not have a lot of team that you need or anything to a certain level. But when you start to get to higher levels, it requires more, and more customers require more attention, and all these things that a lot of people don't think about. I think also just how for years, even before the internet really became so popular back in when we were growing up in the 80s and into the 90s, you had all those like real estate courses that were being sold overnight, right? Like it was cassette tapes and CDs of how to learn how to flip houses, how to buy and sell real estate with no money down, or all these things, right? Like that was, I think on that, it wasn't necessarily a pain point for people, but it was an aspiration for people
Right.
too.
Right.
So it's kind of like it's kind of that either or thing, right? It's sometimes it's, yeah, I have a pain, I need a fix. Other times it's, hey, I want to do something. I have a desire, but
And
I
I
don't know
can't
how.
figure
I
it
don't know
out.
where to begin.
Right. And those are the two lanes. It's either something's wrong and I need to deal with this because this is a problem in my life and I have to deal with it, or there's something that I really want in my life and I just can't figure it out.
Yeah.
I just can't seem to figure out how to do it. And those are the two things, either the pain or the aspiration, like you said. And so you have to get that right.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get that right, everything else that follows from here is a waste of time.
Yeah.
You're just spinning your wheels, because if you haven't solved a problem that's super important to them, if you haven't solved a problem that is they're dying to know the answer to,
Yeah.
they're not going to buy it no matter what you do from here, no
Mhm.
matter how you position it, no matter what you say, because they're just not going to be interested. They don't care enough to solve that problem.
Yeah.
So how do you do this? Well, as you then go in, you're like, okay, I know of a problem. I know this is something that people are dying to deal with and to get solved or to achieve in their life. I know this. I've done my work. I've done my research. I've talked to people. I know there's a whole lot of people out there that would really want that. Great. Now, how do you create a course around that? Well, I always say, like, if you start with your beginning point, okay, so you have your beginning point. Where are most of your prospects today? They're in maybe the aspirational. I want to start my own business. I want to start, working for myself. I've been working for a company for all these years now, and they treat me poorly. I've been, fired a couple of times because for no fault of my own. They just one day went through a reduction in force and riffed everybody out the door. And I didn't do anything wrong, but now here I am unemployed again. And I've done it twice now. And there are people that are in that boat saying, that's enough.
Yeah.
I've had enough of this nonsense. I'm tired of, putting all my time, effort, and energy into something only to have the rug pulled out of me. And now I'm unemployed again.
Yeah.
And people are saying, I have to take control of my own future here. And that's a pain point now for them, saying, no more.
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep, running in this loop of getting, investing, building myself, trying to build my career, and bam, having it all pulled out from underneath me.
Well, and I want to also mention too, as we're talking about this, that a lot of times I think people make this topic harder than it needs to be. And I'll use an example that's not an online course example, but there's a guy in our area that he's a retired veteran, and basically it was more of a hobby job, just trying to keep himself busy. He started doing junk removal on his own. He had a truck and a trailer, and he just started kind of doing it on his own. And what he would do, because he's a veteran, he would actually go to our VA hospital in our area, and he would actually pick up some veterans that wanted to work. And so he would get a couple guys with him, and they would just go do these small jobs, when people, and it was all word of mouth for him. And when I first met him years ago, he didn't market himself really. He just kind of just did the job. He was a nice guy, and he went to networking meetings, and people just called him. He got connected to some realtors and people that needed, that kind of service a lot for their clients. Well, I saw him not too long ago, and he's like, Chris, I am so busy. He had like, now he has like logoed, shirt that he wears, and he truly has a business that has really formed into something that he never necessarily really even intended or needed it to, but it has. But once again, he took control of his own life, right? He took control and said, I'm going to do something. And I've hired him a couple times to come clean out some, take away some things when we've remodeled and done some things. So that's an offline thing. But I think my point is that that's removing junk, and he's
Right.
made a lucrative business out of it.
Right.
So when we think about this knowledge sharing, it does too many times. I think we have to feel like we feel like we have to be so smart about, rocket scientist kind of a person, right? Like, but so many times what people need is simplicity.
Yes.
Like show me in a very short, easy to understand, easy to consume way how to fix this problem or to meet this need, right?
I agree. And that's where, how do you do that? The process itself is quite simple. You start, where are most of my customers today? Where are most of the people that I would be marketing to today? What is their situation? What are they at? Okay, so that's your starting point. That's the start.
Mhm.
That's square one. Then you look at it and go, where do they want to go?
Mhm.
What is the outcome that would make them happy? What is the outcome that if they had this, or if they achieved this, if they did this, they would say, yes, that's great. That's what I want. That's great. That would make me happy if I had that. Okay, great. So now we know where they're starting, and now we know where they're going. Because it's
Mhm.
like anytime you go on a trip, what do you need to know first? Well, I
Mhm.
need to know where I am now,
Yeah.
and I need to know where I want to go.
Yeah.
And now I can get on my phone and type in those two coordinates.
Yeah.
I have a start point, I have an end point. Now I can do all the steps in between of how to get there from where I am today to where I want to go. And the same thing applies to creating a course.
Mhm.
Where are they today and where do they want to be? And
Mhm.
now you start with, okay, this is where they are today. So what would be the first step that they should take? Well,
Mhm.
they should do this. Okay, once they have that done, now what should they do? Oh, then they should probably do that next.
Mhm.
Okay, then they should do this. And you keep just going down these steps until you
Yeah.
get to the end result.
Yeah.
And if that's 5 steps, if that's 20 steps,
Right.
whatever that is,
Yep.
easily and simply lay it out for them so they can see, okay, this is how I need to do this. This
Mhm.
is how I need to go through this journey to learn how to become, to get the result that I want.
Mhm.
And if I can do that, well, shoot, I'm now getting this figured out. I'm now making this happen and making it work. And so all of these things, you just lay it out there for them. And again, people get caught up in like, well, should I use Thinkific or Teachable or School? Or no one cares.
Right. The tools are endless, right?
Right, but the tools don't matter. Or
Right.
Kajabi, everybody's like, "Well, no, I need to use that platform." No, nobody cares.
The consumers don't need, that's the thing, right? The consumers don't even know most of the things that we know as we do this research, like about these platforms. And so we get fixated
Right,
on that. We get sucked into the marketing of the
right,
companies, right? Which, and once again, all those brands that you just listed, they all have their pros and they all have their cons.
right,
And then there's a lot of good things that you can do with any of them. But David, something like I'm working with a company right now. They didn't even want to log into my website. So I send them the video links from my Amazon S3, and say, here's the file to upload to your platform for your people to watch these videos. So I don't even need a Thinkific. I don't need
right.
like
You
I've
don't
got
even
a
need
web.
any of that.
I
Right,
don't need any of that. Now, I have other people who'd log into my website and watch those videos, but that group said, "Can you just send them to us and we'll just distribute them to our people?" And I'm like, "Sure, whatever." Like I don't care. I didn't want confusion and clutter.
right, right. So it doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need one of these expensive platforms.
Well, some people are running great programs just out of a Facebook group.
Right, right. Or even they're even just using an unlisted YouTube channel.
Mhm.
There are people that sell courses just running it straight out of YouTube, which I think is a little tacky, but that's just personal. When it has the
Well, but
YouTube,
once again,
but,
even
but
even
people
if
do it.
it may not be a great long-term strategy, but it'll get
Right,
you started, right? And
right,
and I think what Vimeo is a better, could be a better option where you may pay a small monthly fee, but it's at least protected content differently than YouTube.
right.
But the
So, anyways,
platform is very similar.
all of this, it doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need to get a fancy platform. You don't need to do all that, spend a lot of money on all those things. You just need to help to create something that gets the result.
Yeah.
And you create the videos, you create the workbook pages, you create whatever you need to do to help them get the result. Create it, you walk it through for yourself and say, well, if I was doing this, this is what I would do first. This is what I would do second, third, and so forth. And give them the tools and the training that they need to do it. That's it. And it doesn't matter if you're on all these platforms or not. That's up to you if you want to use those. That's your choice. It doesn't matter to the customer. They just want to be able to get access to the help that they need to get the result. That's it. And so once you have that in place, now you've got the training or the course created in place. Now the next thing is you have to communicate the value of what it is, because you have this thing now, but you have to create a message to let people know that it exists.
Yeah.
Because if no one knows that your course exists, you're not going to sell it either. Right? There's not going to be any course sales if it's a secret, if it's hidden over here in the corner and no one's aware that it's around. So you have to market it and get it out there. So you have to create a marketing message around the value that your course brings. Yeah. And how you market your course is dependent on how complex your solution is.
Yeah.
So I recently bought a Google Ads course. Okay. Because I'm, digging deeper into Google Ads, getting more experienced on it, trying to learn more about how all these things work. And I'm looking at this going, okay. And there was this guy who was who was actually used to be the guy at Google who did all the trading for everyone on their ad platform. He used to work for Google. He knows it inside out. Used to train everybody at Google on how to use the Google ad platform. And now he's an entrepreneur and he created his own course. And it was a simple 1-page sales page talking about his experience, why he knows what he's talking about, why he knows all the ins and outs of the platform, because he lived it. He was living in it all day, training people on it all day. And now he created this course, and it was a simple 1-page sales page. Wasn't even that long. It just talks about how I know this thing forwards and backwards. I can show you all the ins and outs, all the things that you can do. Here it is. It's a simple 1-page thing. Ran a Facebook ad to it. Interestingly enough, it's a Facebook ad for a Google ad course, but I'll leave that one there.
I bet he has a Google ad too, though.
I'm sure he does. But that was how I found it. And so it's a very simple sales process because it wasn't complicated. Now, there are other things, like if you are selling a service that's more complex, your solution is more complicated. And we've talked about this before. I have a book funnel course on teaching people how to use a book funnel. Well, I actually have a recorded training that I send people to watch, to learn about the why a book funnel is the answer that they need. And the reason I do that is because most people don't even understand the value of a book funnel.
Right.
You see, most of the people who are interested in advertising know what Google ads are. Like, they know but there's all these people out there who are authors who want to sell more books and have no clue that a book funnel is the answer to selling more books.
Yeah.
They're just sitting there going, well, how do I get more people to buy on Amazon? Well, you can get it for fewer people to buy on Amazon, but you're only getting like $2 or maybe at most for every book you sell.
Right.
So you're never going to make any money doing this. You're
right.
People, I sold it out of 20 books. That's great. That's
right, $40. I can go to dinner.
$40. You may be able to go out or you take your family to McDonald's tonight.
Maybe.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to a nice restaurant on $40.
Right.
You just can't get there on that. So you have to make an entire argument, and you have to retrain their thinking so that they understand that there's a whole other solution out there. So it's a more complex answer. So I do a more complex marketing strategy. Like I said, if it was simple and it was just like, boom, I worked at Google, I know the ad platform in and out, I used to train people on it, I know all the nuances on it, I'm an expert on it, here's my course, it's only a couple $100, here you go. Boom, easy to understand.
But the starting point is, right, for most people is, I know I need to advertise on Google.
Right.
A
And,
book funnel is you have to, and the reason you do your training is you actually educate people in your free training about what a book funnel is, how it works, and how you can, not just sell books, but
right,
build other courses, sell courses and things from it.
right,
I think it's all that. It's also that starting point of
right.
understanding, right, of where your audience is.
And my starting point for my people are authors who want to sell more books. My starting point isn't I want to build a book funnel and I need to learn how to do it. I know my starting audience is I'm an author who wants to sell more books. And I have not even realized the right way to do it yet. I haven't even put two and two together to understand that, oh, wait, it's not just going on Amazon trying to get, another $2,
Right.
begging for crumbs off the table. There's a whole other way of doing this through a book funnel that I can actually earn an income from this,
Right.
an income that actually matters.
Right.
So that's why your marketing strategy needs to be dependent upon how complex your solution is.
Yeah.
If it's very simple, and it's a very simple solution, just a one-page sales page should be fine.
Yeah.
And you can send traffic to that page and you'll get some sales. If it's a more complicated solution that requires more education, then you need to have like a recorded training that people can go through and watch and learn and go through and get some more out of it. And because they need to learn why, first of all, because they need to understand not only how your course is the solution, but they need to understand why this solution is the best answer for them. There's more of an education process involved. And then once you get to the point where they see like, no, I need this is what I need, the one last step in the process is, why is your course the best course for them?
Yeah.
What is it about the way you present the information? What is it about the way that you solve the problem that makes your course superior to other courses that are out there?
Yeah.
Why is your course better than somebody else's course? Because like in Google Ads, there's lots of courses out there. I was getting ads because I started searching into it because I was like, yeah, I really want to get better at this. I'm going to do some searching and I'm going to do some digging. I want to get a course on this. Well, of course, you know what happens. Every time I'm on Facebook, I have 5 ads for Google ad courses because everybody and their brother has a course on how to do this. And so then it's a matter of, well, which one is the one that I want?
Right.
Which one is the one that appeals to me the most and why?
Yeah.
So this becomes your whole argument is like, you have to be able to communicate in your marketing as to why your approach is superior to somebody else's approach.
Well, I was going to say too is, this is where authority comes into play as well, right? Like you mentioned, this guy, if you compared 10 courses, but this guy worked at Google and knows it inside and out, you may not know his name. You may not know him personally. He's not like this well-known, famous person, but his background, how he positioned that, how he explained that, gave him authority to probably catch your attention. Whereas, for a lot of people, most people, when they're creating their courses, you don't have a global name. You're not the Tony Robbins, the John Maxwell's, the, whomever's out in the world that, people like, they see you as an online educator, teacher, speaker, whatever. So you have to do this. You have to show your authority in different ways, right? And I think that, like you said, you saying that you bought this course from a guy who used to work at Google that knows this. Like, to me, I don't have to know the guy's name. His credentials speak volumes to me.
Right.
Versus some random person that might have thrown up some videos on YouTube. They have to display their credibility somewhere in a different way to capture my attention, right? Is, okay, maybe I didn't work at Google, but I've had this success based on, running Google ads. That's, so I think to your point, David, of just being able to speak to the differences of, what makes your solution different, but also what makes you worth listening to that's a big part of cutting through the noise today.
I would agree 100%. And so I would just say, that's one way of doing it, is to sit there and say, hey, my experience has a superiority to it. My experience has an edge to it that other people just don't have.
Mm-hmm.
That was why I bought his course, because this guy used to train people on the platform all day. He knows it inside and out. And that's what he said. of anybody. Like I was with the developers, I was with the people building this thing all the time because
Right.
I was the trainer. I was the one who had to go out and train people on how to use it. So I know,
Yeah.
don't do that, do this, because
Right.
I know how it was built. I know. So he has that experience that's superior, and that's what he could sell. I didn't know his name either. I'd never heard of the guy, but when I read his little story, I'm like, wow, this is impressive.
Right. It
This
was impressive.
know what he knows, what he's talking about. And the other way to do it is maybe you have a way of solving the problem that's better than what other people are doing. Maybe your way of, like, you've looked at this and you know that, well, you know what, other people are consistently trying to solve the problem this way and they're struggling.
Yeah.
They are not getting the answers. They're not getting the results that they want because they're doing it wrong. They're doing it in a way that's not going to get them the best result. And if you've ever met somebody who is an expert at something, like, even maybe fixing something in your house,
Mhm.
and you're like, I don't know how to do this. I've tried 13 different ways to solve and to fix this problem. And they walk up to your house one day and they just go, try this, boom. And all of a sudden they fixed it. And you're just staring at it going,
That was easy.
you've got to be kidding me. You just solved it like in 3 seconds when I've been standing here for 13 days trying to do this. And yet that happens all the time. When you know how to solve something, that means that other people are doing wrong. That means your method is superior to what other people are doing.
Mhm.
And you can market that. You can market that you know a way of doing this that is superior to what other people are doing. Or maybe you've just simplified the process.
Well, that's where I was going to go. Sometimes we see this all the time where there's so many business building courses out there, right, and trainings, but sometimes people are like light years ahead of where somebody might be starting,
Right.
and they're talking over their head and they're using language that they don't even like. I may not even understand because I'm. So it's like it's one thing to be a couple of steps or 5 or 10 steps ahead of somebody versus 100 or 1,000.
Right. And you just use language that they understand.
Yeah.
You say it in words that they can comprehend, because sometimes what happens is people start using jargon, right? They start using abbreviations, or they start using terms that the average person is going to look at and go, I don't know what that means. I'm lost. What was that? What did he say? Like, he said this. I don't even know what that is. Like,
Yeah.
and now you have to stop and you have to go try and research what that word even means, because you're like,
Right.
I don't even know. Like, and then if that happens often enough, the person just gives up because they get lost and confused.
Right. They just check out.
Right. Because it's like, I don't know what they're even talking about. This is too complicated. This is too difficult to follow. And I've been in that. I mean, I took an SEO course a while back, and I was so frustrated taking that course because I went into this thinking that I need to learn SEO better. I can build my skill in this and improve myself. And what I realized when I got into it, this is advanced SEO.
Right.
And they didn't market it that way.
Yeah.
And I suddenly realized I'm in over my head.
Right.
These people are talking about these are like full-time, I do SEO for a business people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm just trying to learn how to get some basic.
You need an SEO for dummies.
I needed a simplified version, and I just gave up on the whole program. And I was frustrated and upset because I just wasted a bunch of time and money on something that's not helpful to me. It's not that they didn't know what they were talking about, but they're communicating with all these terms and words, and I'm going, I don't know what these mean.
And that might have been helpful, and it would have been helpful to people that have a different basis or starting point, right?
Right. So, which is why you need to market yourself correctly, which is why you need to market yourself appropriately. So you say, hey, I am going to help people who are just getting started out, who are just getting going with their business, and I'm going to show them how to build a business from zero to, a few thousand a month or 6 figures. And that's where I'm going to stay. And that's where I'm going to focus. I'm not going to take you from a couple 100,000 to 1 million or to 10 million, because that's a whole other language. That's a whole other lane of business to develop.
Right.
I'm going to take you from 0 to 6 figures. And that's where I'm really going to market for you. And that's how I'm going to position myself, so that when I'm speaking to you, I'm using words and terms that the people in that zone will understand.
Well, even with free content, right? One of our most recent people that you and I have been listening to a lot of his podcasts and things, Alex Hermosi. He is not interested in helping somebody starting at zero
Right.
from for his
Exactly.
business.
Right.
So he gives a lot of free content for people through his YouTube channel, his podcast, to help people who want to start a business, who are in the very early stages or whatever. Because his goal, he states this, is when you get to, I think, 3 million or 5 million in business, then he wants to talk to you about
Right.
coming into his world and maybe partnering, or his whole thing of acquisition. And
He just wants to buy you.
right, he wants to buy you out and partner with you to grow it to 10 and 100 million kind of level. But I love the clarity, I'll say, and this is why I bring him up, is I've heard him say many times, I want to help you get to that point where you really are a target, person for us to really talk to. But if you don't get to the level that, if you don't get to that 3 to 5 million point, I can't do anything with you. I'm not going to do anything with you because of what our model is.
Right.
So for him, he even says, here's free stuff, or here's low price books or whatever to help you grow a business. But here's the thing, most people aren't going to do that. Most people aren't going to get to Alex Ramosi level to go and be acquired by him. And that's okay. But I think the clarity is critical, because you and I appreciate a lot of what he's taught and what he says and a lot of his topics that he brings up. Um, but so much of it is because he is trying to simplify a lot of complex things for beginning entrepreneurs. And he's not just an online space, right? He's in all sorts of business space. So I know education is a big part of what he does now, but but the bottom line, I guess my point is that he's very clear what his target audience is and how he's helping people on the front end to even get to the point where they might even be a prospect for him as a client or partner.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And this is where, if you do this correctly, you can turn this into a significant stream of income. If you do this correctly, this can become passive income for you in a significant way. Like if you can get this puzzle set up correctly, it turns into a massive amount of money. People are making millions and millions of dollars selling access to courses.
Yeah.
Every year. And this is sitting out here, and this is waiting for you if you're willing to, figure out your marketing, figure out your approach, figure out your content, your solution, and all of that. And so the opportunity sitting out here in front of you is unbelievable. It absolutely is. But as we all know, the devil is in the details, right? In terms of like, well, how do I get this right? How do I get this all figured out? How do I communicate correctly? How do I position correctly? Because that's what separates those who make millions from those who struggle,
Yeah.
and don't make much money at all.
Well, we've said it before. I mean, there's a lot of, I'll say, lower quality products or even courses out there that are selling well because the marketing message is right.
Correct.
And there's a lot of great courses or products out there that aren't selling well because the marketing message is wrong.
Right.
And that's a hard reality for most of us to realize early on, especially, is I can have the greatest solution in the world, but if I don't communicate it well, then it's just not going to generate anything. But if I learn how to communicate well to my audience and know how to address their pain point or their desires, then then you get that flywheel going, and it can just change
Right.
your world. And courses are great because it's semi-passive, right? I mean, it's not that you don't have to do anything
Right.
to maintain the business, but selling a course that people can log into and utilize, with having a customer service back end, and helping people with logins and things that do come up over time, maintain your website, all those things, are, you can have a very comfortable income and style of life in the sense of your time commitment. And I think a lot of people, even think, once again, even if people are looking at it as a second stream of income from a day job or a career, this is where you can really
Right.
make a difference, right? Is
Mhm.
if I can create the course and I can sell that on autopilot, so to speak, through Facebook ads, Google ads, whatever marketing means, I'm still living my life with my family. I'm still going to
Right.
work every day. Then that income can surpass your day job income potentially if it's really grown right.
Right. And just think about this. Let's say selling your course for $1,000 because it's a more complex solution. It costs you $500 in ads to get $1,000 sale. And let's say you sold one of those a day.
Mm-hmm.
$500 a day. All you got to do is spend a few minutes every day checking your ads. And, you know, get up in the morning, check your ads, see how they're doing, see if everything's going good. All right, great. Let the ad run for another day. You made another $500. Or what if you doubled that or doubled it again?
Yeah.
I mean, and then it's not taking up more of your time.
Right.
You're just making more money. And all of a sudden, all these financial strains, all these financial problems that you're facing are gone.
Yeah.
Because now the money is just flowing in. And not only is it flowing in, but it's flowing in without you having to put in more hours at a job.
Right.
It's flowing in without you having to do more work.
Yeah.
You're just managing the process, and it's generating massive amounts of cash flow for you, which gives you all sorts of freedom, which takes the pressure off of you, which if you lost your job now, okay,
right,
I don't need it so much anymore. I have income coming in that has replaced all the income that I was taking. And now going to work at a job seems kind of silly.
Right.
Why would I go sit there all day and earn a few dollars an hour when I can just sit here and hit and do this and earn a lot more money for a lot less work?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but to your point, I mean, it's all a process. You need to lay it out properly. And that's why we have Design Launch Grow is we have roadmaps to help you figure out how do you take this course idea and validate it, right? I mean, you mentioned that very early on, making sure it's the right idea for the right audience and who the right audience is, what's their pain. And we walk you through these step-by-step processes so that you can truly ultimately get to that point of generating the sales that you want to generate the income that you need or want. So check out designlaunchgrow.com if you need that kind of help. We have worked very hard to develop a step-by-step roadmap process to walk you through this, because we know it can get very complex and convoluted in our minds if we're not careful. So we offer, course material ourselves with the digital training side of it, but we also have weekly coaching calls. We have a strong community of people who want to support each other to be successful in entrepreneurship. And so we'd love to have you check that out. And, other than that, we want to just encourage you to be thinking about these things we talked about today, making sure that you're going through this process of, not just throwing something out into the world and hoping it sticks, but to be intentional and strategic about it so that you can give yourselves the best chance of success. So thanks for listening today, and we will see you next time.